Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I'm back with another video for Honeybee Stamps. Today I'm going to be using the Friendship Frame. This has stamps, stencils, and dies. I will be using all three of them. So stamping, I just out of habit, I think I used our Intense Black ink, which is safe for Copa coloring, but it's still like a good solid black and I didn't have any issues with it, even though I did absolutely no Copa coloring on this. So here's how I picked this set. I think right now layering stencils are wildly popular and I am totally here for that. Obviously, as a colorist, I prefer to color a lot of my images, but I like having the stencils to kind of play with and do different techniques with, or if I'm just looking to make a super fast card. And even with interruptions, this card took me probably 45 minutes, which is really rather fast card for me, honestly, because when I'm doing the coloring, I mean, it can take me up to 2 hours to create just one card. So this is something that's like super fast. And I did a rainbow because I love a good rainbow, but you could do this with any color combination that you would prefer. And also the thing to note is these stencils will work without the stamp. So they will still make a beautiful image without the stamping. So once I have the stamp down, I did end up stamping it twice because I don't do anything to prepare my stamps. I'm working on Nina 80-pound Floral White cardstock. I'm going to use some blending brushes and a bunch of distress inks. You don't have to use distress inks. I like them because I like the way that they blend and I like their color palette, but you can use whatever inks you enjoy ink blending with. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to put down a base of color. If you are going to end up doing your frame with all of the stencils, you don't necessarily have to do this portion. You don't have to put down a base color. But I left out some of the stencils to do either other things with, or I didn't use them at all. Just, again, stretching my supplies and getting different looks. And so I needed the base color, because ink blending is buildable. So as you add more ink, it gets darker, it gets more intense color. And so this first time that I'm putting color down, I'm not putting down, enough to cover, of course, but not like a super intense amount of color. And then I'm just putting it right over the frame. The center of it will be cut out for this particular card design, so I'm not worried about that. With the dies, you can choose to cut out the outside, cut out the inside, or cut out both. I chose to do both. So yeah, we're just going to go through. We're going to do a lot of ink blending. I was watching a live the other day and somebody in there had made the comment that now that color layering stencils are a thing, they won't even look at like a layered stamp set. And I thought that was so interesting that, like, is that accurate? Like, as a stamper or card maker, do you still, now that coloring stencils are so prevalent in the industry, do you still use your stamp layering sets? I never used them. I'm just going to be honest. I always had a hard time lining them up. It was a challenge for me to use them. I did use them, if I was supporting a company or a small business, but they were never like my go-to. But also, again, I like to color and not everybody does. And, layering stamps do give beautiful results. So here I am stamping. I am taping my first stencil in place, and there are 6 stencils in this set. I think 2 for the large flowers, 2 for the small flowers, and then 1 for the leaves and 1 for the centers. And so when I went in with my colors, I chose to go right over like the base color with the same colors, but there's kind of a trick to this. So depending upon what colors you already have down will change the color that's applied, because unless you take off your stencil each time and remove the previous color's ink, So like if you put the pink down and then you put the purple is going to pick up some of that pink because it's already down. Or if you put the orange down and then you put the yellow is going to pick up some of that orange because it's already sitting on the surface of the stencil. And so you get some really cool gradients going with this technique. Especially like this in this top left corner, you can see that the flower that's hanging down in the middle, sorry, my paper moved, so I had to readjust it. Going forward, I will then tape my paper down so this does not happen. But you can see that the corner of that flower that's kind of hanging down and pointing inward to the center and the top left, a portion of it is purple, a portion of it is blue, and a portion of it is green. And so I just thought that it was like a super cool way to get such a different kind of blended look. So I did the 2 large flowers. I did those 2 stencils. I skipped small flowers 1. And the reason that I skipped 1 is because it allowed me to keep that base color, which changes the intensity of the color on some of the flowers. So I'll have darks and lights and create more dimension and interest. And then for the centers of the flowers, I opted to do a glitter paste. Just because I like the sparkle and shine. You could use any, whatever you have. You could use colors, you could use, just like your regular colored ink, or you could use other, like a white paste or a transparent paste that would give it, gloss. You could forego the stencil completely and use like a glossy accents on the centers. There's lots of stuff that you could do, but I like the glitter paste because I love the sparkles. Yes, I do. So, anywho, I would be very interested to know what your guys' take on the stencils versus stamps is, because I know what my take on it is. So here you can see the background and see how it's kind of building up. This one is the Small Flowers 2, and so I will be using that. Here I've realized that that piece of tape was blocking some of what I would be inking, the piece of tape that was holding my card down, so I needed to move that to an area that wasn't open. The nice thing about Honeybee's stencils is they etch the whole stamp design on there, so it makes it super easy to line them up. They also label them, so when you hear me saying, oh, this is the large flowers 1, large flowers 2, it actually says that right on the stencil, so you know before you go in there what that stencil will ink. So anywho, when I said that this card took me 45 minutes with interruptions, let me tell you what happened. So first things first, a lot of you guys are very kind and very sweet and will make comments about like, what color nail polish are you wearing? Or your nails always look so good, which I do try to be conscientious of. First of all, just in my regular life, I like when my nails are done and they, look put together. But also because my job requires that a lot of people, if I'm lucky, a ton of people look at my hands. And so I like to make sure that they're kind of, put together. Now, you may notice my right hand thumb here is busted. And it wasn't when we started this video. So I have been breaking a lot of nails lately. I don't really know why. Like, it's always just like something random. Like, it's been like snowy and icy here last week, and I was trying to put Caitlin in the car, and like my hand slipped off the door handle because it was icy, and like I looked down, and even though it didn't hurt, thankfully, I had like busted the corner off my pointer finger. And so it's like there's always something that happens, and I just roll with it. Sometimes they're long, sometimes they're short. They're always mine, and it's fine. How this one got broken though was one of my interruptions. So here we are moving on to the centers, and we are going to do the glitter paste. For this, I didn't tape it down. And the reason I didn't tape it down is because with glitter paste, you have to wash them like immediately. If you guys have watched my videos before, you've heard me say that, like, don't sleep on it. Wash it right away. because this stuff is almost like an adhesive, like a glue, and when it dries, it's very difficult to get off. So I went through very quickly, used my palette knife to put on my glitter, and then as soon as I was done, I went and washed my palette knife and washed my stencil in the sink. I usually do grab like a baby wipe or something just to scrub them, like so I have something to scrub them down with. And then while this dries, I'm going to work on my sentiments. I stamped both of these in the Brilliant White Pigment ink from Honeybee after I treated with my anti-static tool, and then I cut them out with their coordinating dies. So anywho, this was my interruption. Kids are funny. I don't know. Sometimes, I mean, he didn't do anything that any other kid hasn't done. He just got himself in a spot. So I'm upstairs, I'm working on the card, and Peanut comes upstairs and he's like, Mom, can you help me get this off my finger? And I turn around and he has it's a PlayStation game, it's a PS4 game, literally stuck at the base of his pointer finger. He's put it's like a CD. And don't you remember, like, when I first started playing video games, we had like the big Nintendo cartridges and you had to blow on them to get them to work. So his is it's a disc, and it's not even his game, by the way, it's Eric's. And so he was playing around with it. I don't really know why. It was in its case, and he went and sought it out to then put his finger into it. It baffles me. But now it's stuck at the base of his finger. So I'm trying to like twist it, turn it to slide it off. And every time I move it, he's like, ow, 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 ow. And I'm like, dude, like, you did this to yourself. I'm not trying to hurt you, but I am trying to solve the problem. Here, something to know. So if I had to do it all over again, I probably would have die cut it before I did the glitter paste. The glitter paste was still intact after the die cutting, but it was just a lot flatter. So just something to keep in mind. So I'm going to die cut this out, and then I'm also going to die cut 2 more pieces out of black to give it some dimension, and I super loved the way that ended up looking. So everything is ow, ow, and he's trying to pull his hand away from me, and his finger is starting to swell directly in front of it. So we tried soap, that did not work. I tried lotion, that did not work. And so finally we just accepted the fact that we were going to have to cut it. Here, let's talk about this. So this is a very pretty look. We have, clearly we've got this rainbow going on with the lighter and the darker tones, but in order to make it more dramatic and to make those florals really stand out, I am going to color them. I'm actually going to color the background. This did take me a little bit of time to do, but it was so worth it. I am very interested, and I'm going to have to try it. Honeybee has a couple of these different kind of frame sets. And so I think I'm going to have to try it to see if I could do like heat embossing on black and then maybe color them in with oxides, or do the stenciling with oxides on black and see how that would look. I think that maybe that would work to get a similar look, but I won't know until I try it. So this one I chose to just go in and all of the negative space in that frame I colored black. You do want to make sure that you go around the edges so that you don't have any lighter parts that are kind of peeking through. And this is how we're going to get that super dramatic look with these beautiful bright florals on a dark background. You don't have to do this with black. I prefer black with bright colors. So here, this is how it looks. We're going to flash back for just 1 second to this is what it looked like before. And now here we are again with how it looks now. And I just love like the drama of it. These beautiful rainbow colored flowers on this black background. Anyway, what I was saying is you don't have to do black. You could do a navy, you could do a dark purple, really anything that's going to give you a ton of contrast, you could totally do. So now I'm like, I'm just resigned to the fact that I'm going to have to cut this CD. But cut it with what, you ask? I will tell you. I used my snippers that I have for my dies. And so, because I couldn't break it myself, like I just couldn't crack it. So I ended up having to cut it with the metal clippers to get it to crack. And then I broke it down as much as I could. And then I would have to cut it again, mindful of his finger, of course, because I don't want to cut his finger with those things. You know, they cut wire. I could probably cut his finger off with it. And so, in the process of this, like cutting a little bit, cracking it, cutting a little bit, cracking it, I finally get down to like there's just maybe, I don't know, a eighth of an inch, probably smaller than that, spot between his finger and the cut line. And so I just have to kind of force it to break it. And that did work. And he was able to free his finger, and we were able to restore blood flow because it was obviously, starting to pool and swell. But in the process of that, I broke my thumbnail. Like, what? How? But how? I still don't know what happened, but that happened to me. And thankfully his finger is totally fine. I did tell him though that like that game did not belong to him, and he will have to pay to purchase another one. And then when he looked it up online and saw how much money it was, he's like, I don't have that much money. And I said, well, then I suggest you start a list of chores that you can do to earn that money to replace that item, because it was not yours and now it's obviously broken. But he did. I was very proud of him. He did the responsible thing. When Eric got home from work, he told Eric what happened. I never mentioned it to Eric, so he went to him on his own and told him what happened and that it was an accident and that he would pay to replace it. So I was very, very proud of him for that. He made a mistake. It was a silly little boy mistake. At least it wasn't his head in the banister, I guess. I'll take that. I'll take that. But yeah, just all kinds of random weird interruptions when you're working on a card. Why? I don't know. So now you saw me, I built that all up with the die cuts that I cut out, and then I adhered it to my card. This would be a great shaker. I just chose not to do that. I chose to let the frame kind of be the focal point. And so here what you see me doing is all these different foams on the market all have different thicknesses. And so because I have a couple of different ones, I tried another one first. It was too thick. So then I tried the Scotch foam one, and that one was perfect for the level that I needed for it to be flush. And so I put the foam on the edge that's hanging off the frame for both of my sentiments. This has got super cute sentiments in it. Because who else are you sending cards to if not mostly your friends? I mean, I suppose like family, this would be a great happy birthday card too. I totally would give this as a happy birthday card. But like I really like the ones that are for friends, because most of the people, if I am going to send a card, which is a rarity, we all know that, it will be to a friend who is a card maker 9 times out of 10. So then after that, I did the shimmers, because I do love a good shimmer. And then I did I did some white gel pen highlights. Something to note, if you use Distress ink like I did, that it can move your ink around. So just something to be aware of. It did move mine just a little bit, but not enough that I was mad at it. And then I went in with a white gel pen and did just like highlights along the petals. Nothing too drastic. I didn't push down. I let the pen skip. This was just to, again, give it a little bit more like pop and contrast. So I did that as well. And then I added some rainbow rhinestones, just kind of above and below the sentiment to kind of fill in that area a little bit more. And then that really is the whole card. So I hope that you will try this technique, whether you do it with rainbow or other colors. I think it's a fun one. I think it is super fast and gives a really nice look. And it's an alternative to how you would traditionally use your stencils. And who's not about more bang for their buck? So thank you guys so much for joining me. I appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.